Okay, after an hour of arguing about the content of today's episode, and then, whatever, setting up, here we are.
I often, it's funny when I talk to other people, like if I'm talking to someone I'm working with, I do like very openly describe it as Mike and I argued about this. And you know what? I guess I used to think that had a bit of a negative connotation, but in Jewish culture, for example, like studying the Talmud, for example, part of what you do is you argue about its meaning, and you argue as a way to understand, like, really what you're trying to get at. And I think you and I argue, but not even, I actually think we've become healthy arguers, don't you think?
No.
Really?
No, I think we're pretty toxic arguers.
Really?
Mainly me, but yeah.
Well, I would not describe you as a toxic arguer. Why do you think you are a toxic arguer?
Because I don't know. I just get a little, I don't know, I get defensive. I don't know. I just don't, I'm not into it. I don't know. I'm just like, because something happens where I don't like who I am when I argue. It's not great. Many a time I've come back crying, apologizing to you, as we know, after an argument.
Well, that's true. But let me also let me say this. Because I was going to be a lawyer if I wasn't going to. Did I tell you that was one of the jobs I was going to be? I think I'd be a very good lawyer.
You look like you're like a rap. You look like you're like doing a little DJ like rap thing. What is the setup you're doing?
Wait, I just lost you. Oh God, here we go.
Oh God,
I lost you. That's not good for the episode. Okay, I lost you for a second.
I lost you.
You're
for
back.
A second. I don't know why that happened.
Well, like that's great. Here we go. But I actually, Michael, my boy. We always talk about my boyfriend. Have you noticed this? There's two big Michaels in my life.
We always, or you always?
Well, you love Michael. Michael's one of your best friends.
Yeah, but I know you're always talking about, like, yes, we get it. You're taken.
No, that's not why. It's because I have a very small circle, and basically my days today consist of you, Michael, and my manager. Like that's literally who consumes my world. And
you have a great relationship with your reps. Yeah, that's all. Everything is.
Your days are consumed by me.
You crying. No relationships. It's just like the dating shit's weird because, like, who has time for all this effort? It's like
dating is exhausting, Mike. It's exhausting.
It really is. It's terrible. Not like I'm dating anybody, but it's like
no. You first of all, you kind of are, but
the times I've brushed shoulders with it, here or there. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Okay.
No, but it's exhausting because it's like a whole other thing on top of, like, we've got so much other shit to do, and then like you've got to like put your best foot forward, like.
But you know what I was looking at today, because I'm doing a collective on buying a house. And like my first thought was like looking at everything and like prepping everything for my clients. I'm like, oh God, I need to get married. I'm like, it's a lot of money to get a house.
Oh, like you need like shit you want to. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Well, it's just need to. No, it's just like combined. It just helps if you have somebody else to help save for the down payment, and I mean, it's
So if anyone's looking to buy a house, maybe you two can get married and.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but
you
for
only have
what
to
it's
touch
worth,
my dick once in a while.
For what it's worth, blindfold and alcohol available.
Exactly. You'll have a puke bucket nearby.
See, you know what? Gross. I appreciate people who self-dep. I'm not going to say who it is because I can't say who it is, but I was thinking about how there's this person in our world who I was making fun of, an artist who I make fun of every time I see them. I make fun of them, but not even in a mean way. But they're so not self-deprecating, and anybody who's not self-deprecating, I feel like we're really missing out on an aspect.
Just
of
say
life.
It is. I'll bleep the name out. Oh yeah,
not
self-serious.
Yeah, and but then like you tease, like it's like fun to like you got to go with it. You know what I mean? Like
Especially
roll
if you're gay,
into it.
like if you're like a gay twink boy, like you gotta.
Okay, well don't winnow it down to like the. There's only 4 twinks in the world, Mike. We're gonna know who these twinks are.
No, if you're a gay twink filmmaker, you know. Whose name
Stop. Okay, well now you got to bleep all that out.
I will.
You have That's not. This is more. You can't include that.
You're sweating. I hear you sweating over here.
Well, but anyway, the point is that I do think being self-deprecating is just a
but you know what? Okay,
sign
well,
of a
I'm
good
gonna be
person,
honest with
honestly.
you. Can I give you a pet peeve of mine?
Yes.
And you'll have to justify yourself to the people.
Okay.
Well, no, because you're not that much of like a Nazi about it, but like nicknames versus names.
What do you mean?
People are like, hey, I'm like, when you're like, hey, Robbie, it's like, it's Robert. It's like, okay, buddy. It's like, take it easy a little bit.
Okay, well, I actually don't. Okay. What do I have to justify? If someone calls me Josh, I'm not like.
No, you never are.
Me.
No, you prefer Joshua.
Yes, but that's because that's what you're bringing it up. That's why you're saying it, right?
Yes, but you don't ever. You're never like, actually, it's.
No, the only time I ever do that is when people say to me, "Do you prefer Josh or Joshua?" And my response, 100% of the time, and these are the words that come out of my mouth. Well, since you asked, I do prefer Joshua. That's literally what I say. Since you asked, I don't go, yeah, Joshua. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but what's up with that? If you're one of these weird ass people who are out there being like, don't call me a nickname, I'm like, justify yourself in the comments. And,
I think it's all self.
Leave us a 5-star review, you fucking loser, and then justify yourself in the comments in the reviews.
Can we go back to me arguing for a second? Because I just want to say that Michael always says that Michael will be like, that I'm the worst person to argue with. He says that I'm the worst person to argue with. Do you think I'm a bad person to argue with?
Well, what defined bad?
Well, he feels like I don't get upset, or that like I don't like I'm too controlled in my arguing, and that I don't argue properly. Loose. Like I don't argue properly. Like I try too hard to which is why I think I'd be a good lawyer.
Well, no, I think what I hate about arguing with you the most is you get condescending. You start laughing and you get condescending. You go, oh, okay, just
yes,
wait a minute.
Yes,
that's
yes,
what you go,
yes.
like that. That's what you go. You go.
I know what you mean.
Okay,
I know what you mean.
I was only implying that's what you do. Whereas
I agree.
I know I get like kind of bitchy. I get bitchy. You're like Mr. Chuckles over there.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I think that's part of it. I think it's because, and I'm sure this was trauma responses. It all stems back to trauma responses, by the way.
Yeah.
But
tell us about your molestation.
Well,
not when you were molested. When you molested somebody, tell us. About
when were you last over here? No. No, no. Just that I think like it's like a bit of okay, let's just try to work through it. But I think that anyway, I will become a better arguer. I will chuckle less, and I will. I didn't say
do anything.
Okay, hi folks. Hello, welcome to the episode of Creative Risk, where we talk about trauma, art, entrepreneurialism, and everything in between. We do this is kind of a trauma podcast when you think about it, Mike. This is kind of a trauma podcast. Well, I don't know. This business is traumatic. You don't think this business is traumatic?
Yeah, it is. I have a lot of trauma.
Listen,
everybody has. Well, wait, can I be honest? Why does everybody have PTSD now?
Well, I don't know what to say about that because I think PTSD is very specific.
I sound like a Fox News commentator. Hey, why does everybody all of a sudden have PTSD now?
Well, no, but I know what you're saying, which is but I actually would argue that I bet you most people, yourself included, all have various forms of trauma, whether it's macro or micro, right?
Yeah, it's
Right.
called, I don't know. It's like, but yeah, okay. But then what differentiates, if everybody has PTSD or trauma, then what differentiates trauma from versus just baseline life? Then?
That's a good question. That's a good, like trauma from minor inconveniences.
No, I think, well, everybody like has PTSD from like, who knows? I don't know.
No, I know what
If
you're
you're
saying.
listening to this, you have PTSD, unless you have seen someone's head get blown off, just don't. Don't even. You don't know.
So today's topic is a pretty big one. We are talking about, I would argue, probably one of the most singular, powerful reasons or tools of being alive in 2024, and that is to grow or have an owned audience, your followers,
Yes.
your people, your fans. This is low key like what it means to be alive today. That I mean, I go on TikTok sometimes.
Yes.
Also, Mike, just so before I forget, your video is very, very choppy. Is it not on your end choppy too, or no?
Yours video is choppy to me. I think that's the system. I think when we record, it's all going to be fine.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm not choppy for me, but you very choppy for me.
Yeah,
So
I think that's it'll be fine.
if the random 12-year-old in Bangladesh can have 3.4 million followers, then so can musical theater actor number 13.
Sure.
1307, right? That's the power of what it means to be alive.
Well, let's talk about what an owned audience is before we get into why it's so important, just so people understand what it is. An owned audience, and this is what we've written down here, which I think is a good definition, is essentially a group of customers that a business has a direct line of communication to in order to sell to, right? And these you would qualify. I would say you could call these people your fans. What they really are, though, is it's people that you have a direct line of communication to. And what does that look like? Well, if I have 1 million Instagram followers, technically I have a direct line of communication to 1 million people. If I have 20,000 people on an email list, technically I have a direct line of communication to those people. This is the power, and we're going to talk about this more. Let's get into now. Before we get into why it's the currency really of the day, I would say it's the power that we have today. That 30 years ago, per your point, a 12-year-old in Bangladesh could not have direct communication with millions of people. Now they can. It's an incredible, sign of the times that we're able to do that, and it is the currency of the day. I think that in terms of, we have entered now. I think one can say this is the influencer era, right? Where there are many people in this world who make a living by having owned audiences. They make a living purely because either through strategy and through hard work or dumb luck, they have a direct line to lots of people. And this is the influencer economy that we're in, and it's something that we're all fighting for right now in a lot of ways.
Well, I'm not sure if you saw, but I saw a headline today that Christopher Abbott and that Aubrey Plaza, Danny in the Deep Blue Sea, that it recouped. And the reason this relates to this is because, to your point about power and literal currency, people like that in these shows. This is not a new concept. They sell tickets. But the reason why that relates to us very specifically is that when we are considering what will continue to give us an edge in this moment. This is a no-brainer. So, for example, you and I, Mike and I, we're both up for the same part in the play. We're both great actors. I'm a little better, but we're both pretty good. And to the maybe the naked immediate eye, you wouldn't quite see the difference, but a few passes and you get it. You get who's good. But so we're both up for the same part. So they haven't gotten there yet. They're just thinking like, oh, they're the same. Okay. It does even if I have the slightest or not so slight, maybe even wider talent edge. If I have 1,100 followers and Mike has 38,000, and we're both up for the same part, we could safely assume that if they're going, well, what's going to, from a business strategy standpoint, because they're the ones raising the $1.5 million to do our tiny play, who's going to get the part? Probably Mike.
And, I just want to even just point something out here, because I was thinking about, Chris Abbott and Aubrey Plaza after you said that. And, Chris Abbott, and this is I just want to make a clear differentiation here. There's a difference between heat, just somebody being buzzy, and having an owned audience. Because,
sure. Yes,
I would argue that, Christopher Abbott has 17,000 followers. He's not the one selling tickets.
That's fair. Yeah, it's Aubrey.
Aubrey Plaza has 1.5 million Instagram followers. And looking at her IG, it's, the next the first two rows are all about the show. Each post has 80,000 likes. So literally, if I am a producer and I am enlisting somebody to be in a show and they are able to get 1.5 million eyes on it, that is that's in a lot of ways, yes, I'm paying the person and probably paying them more because they're more of an asset, but literally that's free marketing in a lot of ways.
It's free marketing.
Whereas somebody like, let's say, I just want to make clear this differentiation. Someone like Daniel Day-Lewis. Okay, so Daniel Day-Lewis does not have, I would argue, an owned audience in the traditional sense. But what he has is he has buzz. He has buzz. People know who he is, but he doesn't have an owned audience. He doesn't have somewhere that he's captured people that he can market to them.
Sure.
So you can absolutely, for the people arguing out there, you can certainly be buzzy and hot. An example of ours is, I would argue Jonathan Majors at a certain point. He didn't have socials. Didn't have any socials, had no owned audience, but was known about and was growing a fan base. So, but for the people arguing out there, well, why do I need an owned audience? I could still be buzzy. I could still be hot, have heat. I would say what Joshua is saying with this follower is it is a metric that tells people that you're hot, right? If I have 1.5 million Instagram followers and I'm an actor, one can argue that objectively, I am a popular actor, right?
Yeah,
who's going to bring people in.
And we'll definitely obviously talk specifically about this idea because what you just said of follower count as a metric, but I don't want to brush past this other thing that you brought up that I really liked. In terms of why an owned audience is so important, and obviously you hear us talk a lot about personal responsibility in a lot of our work and waiting for no one, etc. And so obviously we, as employers, believe that we are independent artists, and growing an owned audience allows for more independence. Mike had jotted down platforms and advertisers. That certainly relates to a business as a whole if you have a captured loyal audience. But
what that means is, just to be clear, is that if Coca-Cola has 20 million Instagram followers, that's less money that they have to spend on marketing because they have on advertising, because they've already done the work of capturing an audience that they can market to now for free.
Right.
So that's what that means when I talk about advertising independence, is that you don't have to rely on advertisers to get your name out there as a business, you have already captured the people. But in terms of as an actor, as you were saying.
Oh yeah, well I just love this. I love this idea of it. It allows you to be independent from reps or casting in this way. When you take responsibility for growing your own audience, then your reps and casting sort of become pass-throughs. They meaning at an early stage, it feels like we rely so heavily, right? Because they're out there ideally giving us the opportunity, of course, I get it. But if you are coming with an owned audience and producers or the like are going, this is when we get to ideally offers and straight avail checks, then it's because they're going, that person is relevant enough. I know they're art enough, and assumedly they come with some sort of audience, i.e. Aubrey Plaza, in a way where you're free from feeling like you're clinging on to yet another group of people to decide when you get to do the thing you love to do. And I just love that as an idea.
And specifically to get your name out there, because that's what we're relying on, is we're relying on. Right, if literally the idea is reps and casting, as they're traditionally seen, as like, oh, they're the people who make me known, who put me in front of people.
Yes.
Right, they're the reps put me in front of the casting puts me in front of the creative team.
Yes.
If I am doing the work to get my name out there on my own, build an audience.
Yes.
Then I don't, quite literally what you're saying, which is true, is I don't need to rely on them as much to get to get in front of people, right?
Exactly.
So owned audience is power in that respect, and also, and this is something we're going to talk about, but you don't have to rely on studios. I mean, and producers, or even on working, because the thing is, right, is that and this is something that's worthwhile to talk about. Like there was this whole piece done in the Ankler a while ago about how, like, one of the big reasons why there's the death of the movie star is because these streamers rely on algorithms. Once people sign up for Netflix, they're relying on algorithms basically to put, I'm on Netflix, I watch whatever, and then the next thing comes up and it recommends me. So that's the marketing happens within the app. Very rarely is Netflix, and I would even argue HBO Max, they'll do it with maybe one or two shows, or like, a movie here and there. They're not spending marketing dollars.
Right.
For billboards, posters, press interviews. They're not spending that money. And this is how stars were made. Stars were made because they were in a movie that a studio, or a TV show that a studio was aggressively marketing. That's going away now. And in fact, agencies, are having to negotiate that, you have to spend, if you want Kevin Hart in your film, you have to spend a certain amount of dollars on marketing because, we want that free marketing that makes him more of a star.
I think that's such a huge point. And the most obvious example that I think people could probably spot is, why do look at our podcast, but why do so many celebrities have podcasts now? But it's a way to speak directly to their audience, which was what we're right. Sort of getting at. I do just want to say, it's funny. Artist strategy has been around long enough now that I remember when I personally used to push away so much against this idea of specifically socials, but really more so within that, an obsession with follower count. But the world, per your point, Mike, has changed. Hollywood has changed. The way that people experience content and film and television has changed. Therefore, the truth is, here's the truth. Your follower count does matter. And the reason why I want to say it just like that is, I remember, I don't know, a couple months ago, I saw like someone on Twitter, X, Y, Z, Musky Drugs, whatever the platform is called now. I saw someone say something like, a casting director post and say like, trust us, we do not care about your follower count. And I remember thinking like, girl, you might think you don't care about the follower count, but you know who does? Your boss. The producers care. And I would call bullshit on anybody who says that's not true. There might be some outlier roles in the movie or the play that's like, ooh, let's get a fresh face. Or we could put the bit part. Trust me, I'm a bit part guy over here. All I do is play bit parts. So my lack of relevance, that's okay. I could still sort of make my way, so to speak. But unless you're sort of introducing, assumedly these people are looking for names with follower counts, so to speak.
Well, you just said it. What they're looking for is and I think that you said it, is that what they're looking for, and what's not new, is people are looking for names. They're looking for people with buzz. And how 2024 works is that, names are now being built online in digital spaces.
Sure.
They're being built, we're not relying on the industry to build it. So that's nothing new. So a follower count, though, is a clear metric.
That's all it is.
That says that you are a somebody. If you ask an indie casting director, are they going to ultimately, I do think that they're most of the time they want the person who's best for the part. But if they have two options that are good for the part, one of those people is a name, has some sort of recognition, and the other does not, they're probably going to go with the person who has the recognition, I would assume. Now, and just to say this one thing, is the reason why, I think the reason why you're switched to focusing on this and realizing the importance of this is twofold. Number one, the past 4 years have showed us that Hollywood has had a fall from relevancy, right? So Hollywood, nobody watches, nobody cares. Mainstream, and I know everybody's favorite show. Sorry, like Succession, which is like the biggest show. Nobody watches that show. In reality, it's like the viewership numbers are incredibly low. There's that is like an example of like how what Hollywood's relevancy in pop culture is dissipating. Its grip and monopolizing on the culture is disappearing. For I think mainly because of the democratization of entertainment online. They don't control who gets to be seen by people anymore. It used to be Hollywood controlled who would be seen by people because they had the money to market people, market stars, market content. Now we all can do that. So the reason why an owned audience is so important for us is because Hollywood is not going to really help. Yes, in the rare scenarios, sure, if you're like one of the if you're an Austin Butler or a Barry Keoghan, yes, Hollywood will take you.
It's so big, it's so huge.
Exactly. If you have a massive hog, and give a massive hog, and you get Harvey Weinstein to diddle it. I don't know, but you know what I mean. At the end of the day, though,
I would have been like, "Sure, Harvey, come on, let's go. That's all right.
Let's go, Harvey. Let's go, Harvey." It's so
kidding.
big,
It's so
I won't
horrible.
even feel it. No, but the thing is like Hollywood is also. Why do you think TikTok stars are getting cast in fucking movies?
Exactly.
Why do you think influencers? And why do you think that people like Lucas Gage? It's like who's a great example of somebody who, yes, did have a mainstream Hollywood success. And whatever Euphoria or whatever it was he was in, but then leveraged it. And is like now has grown and I would argue Barry Keoghan does the same. Barry Keoghan's very consistent on socials. It's because they leveraged that opportunity they got from Hollywood, and probably somebody behind the scenes, their manager, their publicist was like, listen, you don't know when you're going to fall from grace. You don't know when you're not hot in Hollywood anymore. You better do the work of growing that direct relationship.
Well, but let's talk about this from the even if it's obvious. I just want to briefly talk about why people are so allergic to this concept, specifically around growing a follower. And I would say, you and I, Mike, our world is probably more of that of the serious actor, and by that I simply mean like that's a lot of how we approach a lot of our work is the more esoteric, legit actor. And I say that because there was a guy, we know who it is, who reached out, who said, and we have a questionnaire that people fill out before they can work with us, and one of the things that one of the questions obviously includes marketing. And this guy said, I don't want a career that's necessitated by Instagram, which is exactly what we're speaking to here. And the reason why I want to speak to this is because I get it. I do not think we are saying obsess over your follower count, but we are also saying let go of what was the past, look at the future of the industry per the good points that you specifically are making about how Hollywood has changed. And the other thing is I think people don't want to deal with reality when they talk like that, because it's ignorant for us to think, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. Don't you think?
Well, I think it's yeah, and I think it's like saying I don't want a career necessitated on Instagram is like, it to me is like a movie saying like we want to make a movie that people come to, but we don't want to necessitate that on marketing. It's like what? It's like, well, how are people going to find out it exists? Exactly. How are people going to stay up to date with? And partially it's an ego thing. I think that it's an ego thing. It's people don't, they want their talent to be the thing that is carried. But listen, if your talent is the thing, at the end of the day, great. That's the dream, is that you're so talented, and more importantly, somebody gets behind you and does it all for you, right? Like you're an Austin Butler who has been in the game since he was a fucking kid and has been kind of chosen in a lot of ways. And so he's never had to do any marketing on his own. He's never had to, somebody else has handled all of it for him. Now look, yes, it's great, it's nice, but at the end of the day, it's also kind of unfortunate as I see it, because he's probably highly dependent on those people. He probably doesn't know how to do certain things. I also think it's like, the reason why it's hard is because the work, look, you and I are not good at this.
No.
It's, we value it and have come to value it, but it's fucking hard, because when you're an actor, the question becomes is like, because when it's just like, I need more followers, that's when you start seeing people do what I consider big mistakes, which is, and we'll talk about this controversial opinion. I know we have this later on, but it's like, okay, I need more followers. So I'm an actor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the SAG-AFTRA strike in like 25 reels. It's like, why? Is that why you want people? Because I know that that's hot right now and people are talking about it. Why? Do you, like, I don't want people to follow me for something that I don't do, for something that's not, you're not a commentator on the industry. This is why, to be clear, you and I have artist strategy separate from our personal brands.
Yes.
It's because I want people to engage with me as an actor, not as a commentator on, here are my, like when actors, like I'm seeing all these actors post things like top 5 Golden Globe predictions. It's like, what are you, Entertainment Tonight? It's like, I thought you were an actor.
No, I know what you're saying.
But they're trying to make content.
Yes.
That will be seen
relevant
by people.
Yes.
Relevant, hot content. But the problem is when you're just leading with, I need more followers and that's it, then you start to actually stray from what your product is, which is I'm an artist. So it's very difficult to identify, and we'll talk a bit about that, but to identify is how do I market my art and grow a following around my art? Not just like, hey, I'm an actor personality who's going to do like, here's why the studios need to, it's like, what?
Well, I thought you were going, but I think it's in line with this, is I've seen lots of actors who basically become influencers because they're getting validation they can do a makeup tutorial, and next thing you know, they've got 32,000 followers, but it's like, okay, but just to be clear, you're actually losing credibility as an actor. And that's where I would argue that idea of not necessitating a career on Instagram comes from, because people are afraid that we're going to become too influencers or too influencer focused. I also just want to say, Mike, because you said it, it's actually important for me to say this in relation to just the world of artist strategy. You and I have had this conversation internally many times. The artist strategy and the work of artist strategy is not about Mike and I. And what I mean by that is it's about the work, which is based off of our analyzing and trying to understand the industry, business, where these two meet in general, and especially where they meet with the independent artist. And by that, we simply mean to Mark.
Wow. Wow, how do you manage to do that? I would never do that in a million years. That's psychopathic.
You gotta go, it's Mike. Go back to the first comment. It's Mike, it's not Mark. No, but that's quite literally a different name. Go back to Mitchell's point about sort of like how we struggle with this. This is we always talk internally about how existential all this shit is, because trust us. Now, I'll not that it's a defense,
we've helped people grow followings. I just want to be clear. We've helped people
exactly
grow followings. It's not like, but the reason why, but then we've also had the opposite problem, which is the problem you're talking about. I've had clients come to me who have 30,000 followers, but they're stuck because they're not marketing themselves because they've marketed themselves as something else. Like, oh, my profile really is around now, like inspiring people or blah, 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 blah. Why am I not getting acting jobs? Well, because I don't see actor when I go to your profile. I see makeup tutorial. I see influencer. I see. So the balance, the reason why I think this is super hard is because also, to be clear, I think until us, not to jerk ourselves off, but nobody's really asked, like, how do you maintain the story of actor while also growing an owned audience?
Yes, which is the big thing we're gonna get to. The last thing I just want to say about this for y'all out there, good thick accent. We all play the same game. We do this when we make our our work, our short films, our features, our concerts, our plays. Yes, we think about our friends, but we also think, could I get blankety blank to be in the project? I'm underlining this point because it's not like that idea goes away. So it's the same thing that we do with our own creative work. Oh, I wonder if I could get such and such in it. It's the exact same thing that producers are doing. Okay, let's talk about how to grow an owned audience. Can I kick things off just because it's based off something you just said that I thought was really valuable? Excuse me. To your point about Golden Globes recap or SAG out, let's use the strike stuff. One of the big reasons why Mike and I were like, what are these people doing? Posting every other Tuesday about, their time on the picket line. It's not knocking the work. I just want to be clear. I know people are gonna be like, "What, you assholes?" It's not knocking the act of the strike. And I am
PTP forever. The next deal, 3 years. I hope we get fucking fucked in the ass. I'm
Me too.
BTP next time.
No, but the reason why, actually, it's so funny you say that, because when I saw the percentages, I remember like seeing like who voted yes or no, and like 93% vote yes, and like 7%. I'm like, who are that 7%? Or like didn't want to start. Exactly. No, but yes, go union, and by the way, share the story. But let's just get selfish a second for the business standpoint. Who is your audience? This is where it begins with growing an owned audience, is defining who your audience even is. And while we're not going to go into this in a big sense today in particular, we are saying you have got to identify your target audience, and likely it's going to be people who are simply interested in your creative work.
Well,
yes?
this I want to be clear, yes, because, okay, when somebody posts, let's take this example. Okay, coming out of the audition room, left it all on the table or whatever. It's like, sometimes this career is so wild, blah, 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 blah. Who is that for? Who cares about that? Okay, first off, consumers of art, I would argue, don't care about that. I would argue consumers of art don't care about that. You know, the most people, the masses, the only people who care about content like that are other actors, right? And if that's what you're trying to grow, and by the way,
I don't think they even like it though. I don't think other actors like that content.
They don't. Well, they resent it. I think
exactly. That's what I mean.
Because it reminds them that, oh yeah, we're in a business. Oh yeah, like blah 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 blah. Like, but think about. I'll fucking say it. I don't care. Well, no, actually, I won't. Whatever. But think about, like, okay, you want to be in films. You want to be 20. You want to be working with the best filmmakers around. Okay. And I post a story of me leaving one-on-one, or me, like, you know, like I just got pinned, like a story or something. Do you think somebody who's on the top 25 filmmakers to watch, like, how do you think they'd look at that? They would be like, how do you think they would look at that?
I know.
And you know, I'm trying to say that to go, you know, who are you? You know, and the reason why they don't care is because artists care about art. They don't care about, you know, the reason why I don't post artist strategy stuff on my personal socials, not because I love what I do, and it's not because I don't want to be associated with or anything like that. It's because the people I want following my actor page, I want them to follow me because they're interested in my art making and in my persona and who I am, not because of like, hey, artist time. And that's so you have to ask yourself is, yeah, who is your target audience? Who is really your, and this is a clear differentiation too I want to make, I'm so sorry. An owned audience is the million Instagram followers that you have. Okay. Now that can include your Aunt Sally, your high school drama teacher, you know, some kids you played varsity football with, right? But if you're talking
all
about
those kids
growing,
I played varsity football with, that's right.
All those kids who beat me up from varsity football. But, you know, it's like, if we're talking about growing an owned audience, you have to have a clear idea. What Josh was saying of is, who do I think, how do I grow this owned audience? Well, I have to identify a target audience that I think will be most interested in me and my work. So even though you'll get people in your owned audience that normally, you know, who follow you because they met you at a restaurant and they thought you were cool, you'll get all types of people in your owned audience. If you're talking about growing it, you need to identify who's going to be interested in your creative work. And by that, we mean, what do you have to offer as an artist? What kind of art are you interested in? What kind of stories are you interested in? What's your values? Right.
That's exactly right.
Who's that going to resonate with?
That's exactly right. You know, and I would argue this is probably one of the biggest differences with our work in particular is the consideration of a target audience, because I think a lot of time, because you have to, and by the way, you might be guessing at the outset, but then it'll more help you, it better help you more strategically, effectively use what marketing tools you have in order to grow an owned audience. Because now let's talk a little bit about the process after you've identified a target audience of growing an owned audience. And let's talk about it, I think, by way of a funnel.
Yeah, and let me just say this really quick, because how do you know you've identified a target audience? Probably some demographic information. So you probably do want to have an idea about, you know, ethnic or racial background, sort of age range, you know, what's their education level, money they make, I would argue. But then you would also, and you know, we walk people how to do that, but most importantly, your target audience is people who share a certain need. They all share a certain need, right? So even if they do slightly differ in demographic information, right? You know, they all want something.
Yeah.
It's very specific. And obviously you are positioning yourself as somebody who can fill that hole. So that's how you know that you've identified a target audience, and that you know that you have to go after these people now.
Exactly. So The next big consideration for us, at least, and with marketing in general, but certainly on the journey of growing an owned audience, is to understand the basic principles of a sales funnel, which every business has, even if whether they're effectively using it or not. Every business has the same basic sales funnel, which is a basic 3-step process: discover, where your audience learns about you; nurture, how you're warming them up to wherever you're trying to get them to go in order to step 3, buy. And buy, quote unquote, that's going to mean something different, obviously, for everybody. And we'll talk more about that.
And I think that, the idea of a marketing funnel is something, obviously it's not, it's a made up concept. I just have to say that helps you identify and build a marketing plan. So, and it's something where you go, yeah, exactly what you're saying is how am I being discovered? Where can I capture people so that I can continue to market to them? And ultimately, what am I trying to get them to do? And, when we talk about the top of the funnel, which is discovery, quite literally ask yourself now, sitting at home, how are people who might be interested in you and your art, how are they finding out that you exist right now? How are they finding out that you exist? Example might be, and if there's no, they're not finding out I exist. Okay, well, what are some options? Well, you can use social media as one way to do it, right? And that looks like, okay, viral content. If it is on brand for me, potentially, to use, trending audio clips or whatever it may be, the algorithm will put that content in front of people. Another way would be, obviously using hashtags as a way for the algorithm to put your content in front of new people. I would argue, however, when I say this, is that both of those options for most actors are not the best options, because we always want to try to maintain coolness, that we're not trying too hard to sell. When I see, hashtag booked blessed, hashtag short film, hashtag, whatever in somebody's Instagram post, it's a kind of a turnoff, right? So then what is our other option then? If those aren't ones we should not really be using, probably for most actors, I would argue, then what is our option? Well, it's shareable content. You have to ask you making content that is shareable. This is especially true if you are like a comedic actor. If you are a comedic actor, then, one of the greatest tools you have at your disposal right now is social media, is creating comedic clips, I think about Brian Jordan Alvarez.
Comedic and MT.
Yeah, sure, MT too. Yeah, I am creating content that is shareable. How are you defining that it's shareable content? I don't think we can get into that right now, but you have to ask yourself when you post something, is this post ideally something that I am using because people might share it and it will be discovered by new people? Or, to kind of jump ahead quickly, is this content I'm posting more to nurture and to keep people who are already following me interested? Of course, there can be crossover, but that's something you need to ask yourself when you are posting on socials, right? Is what is the point of this piece of content? So social media, yes, I would say primarily shareable content is certainly one way. Another way you could do this is, the idea of a lead magnet. Now, a lead magnet might be a little trickier for an actor. I'm trying to think about, I have a client, I don't think she minds me saying this, I won't say her name, but who's very big in the Brooklyn independent music scene right now, sort of like the hip underground music scene. And, she wants to grow an email list. Now, we all know that an email list, how people grow email lists, we've done this many times, is I see an ad or I see something, hey, 3 best places to vacation in Hawaii. And, it takes me to a page, and then I give my email address, and then I get the guide. And then all of a sudden I start getting emails from this company, from this travel company, whatever. So that's an example of a lead magnet. For an actor and a musician, she was like, maybe I could do something like maybe I could do something like, best places to get a drink when you're seeing a show in Brooklyn. That I didn't like that idea because it's okay. You're a musician. You're not a travel guide, right? But however, one thing we did come up with, which I thought was pretty good, is okay, do you do a collab track with somebody who has a pretty awesome following, who's kind of big in the space. And then you can opt in, so you do paid ads pushing the single. To access the single, sign in here, give me your email and you'll get a link to the private concert or to the private single or whatever, right? So that's an example of how you can use a musician. Might be a little more challenging as an actor, maybe if there's but I don't know. Some examples.
Well, I just want to say top level what you're doing, because is it the same idea with Shakespeare? I'm gonna do some sort of unique collaboration with this is so random. There's a great actress I know. I did a production of 12th Night with a great actor named Rachel Pickup. Her dad he passed away, a very famous actor in London, Ronald Pickup. He did Waiting for Godot with Ian McKellen, etc., etc. She's a great actress. She lives here now. Anyway, do we do some weird sort of, and is it even an interactive lead magnet where you ask people to sign up and then they contribute and then we create a Shakespeare mashup? I don't know. That's actually kind of a shitty idea, but I actually want to underline a point that you're making, which is that it takes creativity. It's not sometimes these things across the board are going to take creative juices and time to go to. When we ask that question, how am I going to create social content? And we'll talk about the content of that content because we actually have a pretty good lead there. But to your point about a lead magnet, if you are trying to go an email list and you don't want to be my Golden Globes recap, my best self-tape setup, pinned twice in 1 month, then what are you going to do?
Well, you're probably marketing art. I mean, just to be clear, what you probably, and this is how an actor ultimately needs to do it, I would argue, is you need to market art. So yes, if it is, I actually do like the idea of, okay, this is kind of a unique reading or a reading of King Lear with X actor and me, and maybe it's maybe I just did a reading of it. Maybe I just did a fucking reading of it and I filmed it. I don't fucking know. And it's I don't, you have to get equity guidelines there or whatever. You have to check that out. But access this free reading. Sign up for this. It takes you to a page. That's an example.
Fair. Yes, exactly.
Of something that you could absolutely do. Another way that you're obviously, hopefully, and again, what we're talking about is how are people discovering who you are? So literally in the case of a lead magnet, you have this thing, you're maybe doing paid ads, you're maybe, paying influencers to share it on their social media, sign up for this, whatever. And this takes me to another thing, which is press, podcasts, vlogs with audiences. So If there is a podcast, that has a following, or a vlog that has a following that you think shares some of your target audience. So if I did it, and again, this is where it's in my opinion, if I'm going to go on the actor, there's this actor influencer, I'm going to go do their vlog. The reason why, to me, that doesn't really make sense is because, is that your target audience? Is your target audience other kind of actor, actors interested in actor influencers? But if I'm doing, let's say I was to do a podcast, let's say I think my target audience is people who would be interested in societal issues. I don't know, social justice. Well, maybe it makes more sense for me to go on a podcast like that. What am I marketing? Well, of course, this all comes back to, this is why it's important to make your own work. If I have a short film to promote that deals with issues relevant to that podcast audience or that vlog audience or that press audience, whatever, if the story is stuff that's relevant to them, then it makes sense that I can go promote that on other places. Obviously, press pieces, right? So if you are in something, getting press around it, right? So getting the all needed Broadway World article, or if you can get Deadline to write something about, it, right? Then that is an example of how your name is getting in front of new people who don't know about you.
Right.
And
everything we're talking about here is at the top of your funnel, discovering. And then, we won't get too much into middle and bottom of funnel, except to say the core question is essentially, where are you driving these people to?
Exactly.
And the reason this, I would argue, this really is an important question, especially for 2024, is because when we have Threads and X and Instagram and OnlyFans and TikTok, where do you want people to go? My OnlyFans, by the way, is CUMSLUT6969. No, but if you're trying to, you want to be clear on essentially the customer journey. I don't like to get too businessy because it doesn't. But where are people going? Once they discover you, where do you want them to go? This obviously could be Instagram. In fact, just as a random example, but I think it's fascinating. You'll hear people all the time say nowadays, if you want to grow on Instagram, get on TikTok. They're naming a funnel. You get discovered on TikTok, which obviously has a ginormous reach, and then you're funneling them to maybe a more specific page, which is Instagram, which, by the way, Mike, to talking about kinds of content, you might crack open the idea of what kind of TikTok content you're putting out a bit more than you would on Instagram. You want it to be brand consistent, but you also want to be smart about how you're using the platforms effectively in order to meet the objective of, I'm funneling these people to, whatever the eventual home base is.
So quite literally, an example might be is if I'm on if somehow, okay, so I am in sometimes, if I'm somebody who's interested in off-Broadway theater, I would probably go on Playbill semi-regularly. Or maybe I have signed. Okay, so, cast announced for X.
Right.
Okay. I don't know about you, but sometimes if the show is interesting to me, I might Google some of the people in the cast. I might go, who is that person? Who is that person?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Me
So
too.
that's an example of top of funnel. Now,
Right.
so somebody sees Mike Labadia,
right?
They type me into Instagram, or they type me into Google, or they type me into Twitter or X or whatever.
Yeah.
The question is that when they land on my profile, do I capture them in that moment? What we mean by that is, do they follow you? Do they subscribe to whatever? Right? If there's an email opt-in, if there's an opt-in page, hey, stay up to date for what's going on with Mike, which is, I don't think the best idea, but stay up to date. Do they give their email address? Right? So the question is have you set up your middle of funnel enough so that when people do discover you and they go to look you up, or when it does drive people there, that your persona, that it is telling an engaging story to your target audience, that the things that they are interested in and the demand that you're supposed to fill is there, so that you can capture them.
And I just want to say, this is a great example why it's minor but big. When if someone takes the time to land on your page, I hope there is recent and or at least engaging content. Because think about it. When I go to a page that I'm interested in, I'm scrolling. Okay, half-naked guy, click on the thing, whatever, because that's, sex sells is a whole other different podcast. But anyway, hit on the thing. If he hasn't posted in 3 years, I'm not going to follow. I'm saying this because you really do have to consider, well, if I'm trying to capture this audience, what is going to keep them, what's going to keep them interested and engaged along the way.
And that's why target audience is so important, is because you need to ask yourself, what is going to interest them?
Yes.
What is going to interest them, and is it there, and am I actively on there doing it? right? And so this is ways of, because what bothers me about all of this, about marketing sometimes, why I can get so overwhelming is because we kind of just say, it's what you just said. Okay, threads. Oh, now there's Clubhouse, or now there's whatever, all the Snapchat, blah, 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 blah. Where do I need to be?
Exactly.
Well, you have to put yourself in the shoes
of your customer, your audience,
of your customer.
Yep.
And by the what are we again, I just want to be clear. When we say customer, what do we need? What do we mean? To me, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this, I mean, there's two types of customers for most actors. I think customer number one is people who would hire you to work on projects. So casting, directors, other actors, playwrights, producers, people in the industry.
Sure.
Right? So people in the industry, that is one form of customer. And just to be clear, as you and I said, somebody who's posting the Golden Globes update or my 3 self-tape tips on their Instagram, that is not somebody I'm going to hire for a job. Because I'm not seeing a creative artist doing shit out in the world. I'm seeing somebody who's like marketing. Oh, this is somebody I might approach if I want them to write for backstage. Like, I don't know. So there's that. That's one form of customer. The other form of customer is Joshua is doing a concert at 54 Below. Okay, if he is, then who is buying the tickets? Aubrey Plaza is in Danny in the Deep Blue Sea. Who is buying the tickets? That is another form of customer, right? So when we are talking about imagine your customer journey, how are they finding out about you? How do they find out you exist? Where are you capturing them? Where are you trying to drive them to? Right? And ultimately, how do you get them to buy?
The thing I just want to say about this, because I actually was thinking, I haven't said this to you, but I was thinking about this because we have talked about the difference between those two things. All fans, hear me out. When casting is into me, they like me, they're a fan. X, Y, or Z director's interested in me, they're fans. And here's where I think it's helpful to lump these people, our audience, at the end of the day, as fans. That's because even if other actors are like, because the actors follow me all the time.
You're right,
especially because of artist strategy. Like, who the fuck is this guy? What is he got to say to me? You know what I mean? Okay, well, no problem. If you want to come along for my fan journey, no problem. But I do think that at the end of the day, and it'll actually be a good segue into content and what we're selling. Because what we can focus on and what we need to lead with and what people will be most interested in is our creative work. And before we go there for 2 seconds, just to finish up one thought, where you're driving them to, this could be Instagram, it could be TikTok, it could be a specific email channel, it could be your podcast, it could be YouTube. Just know that you can take them on a specific journey to wherever you ultimately want them to go. But creative work, tag team, you're it. I'm here and I can listen to you. I'm just turning on the heat.
Okay. So basically what I wanted to say was about, just lift up what you're saying. You can't hear me. You just took off the...
I can hear you. No, I can hear you because I took my headphones out.
No, don't do that because it's going to record to the microphone.
Okay, 2 seconds.
I'm so sorry. So one thing I wanted to say, just lift up, was that you're so right, actually. Ignore what I just said about the customers because the industry people... You're so right, is that they're it's all the same thing. Who's going to be, basically, I would argue, when you're imagining this, it's who's going to be interested in my creative work, period. Who's going to be a fan of my work? Because what's so silly about people posting self-tapes, okay, I'm going to say it. The reason why, not that I've said it 1,000 times, is like that is so industry specific. That's like, and what story does it tell? I audition. Okay. It's like, but anyway, it's like if I am a actor who is making interesting work, who is, and I'm marketing that work, invariably people in the industry are going to go see it. Like, I don't need to worry about making separate industry content for them. like you're 100% right about that. Why do I need to make separate industry content? You know, it's at the end of the day, the people who are interested in my creative work, the projects I am in and doing and what I'm making are the people who I want following me. Those are my fans.
And
right?
again, this goes back to the point, by the way, of what I loved about the point you made about independence from reps and casting, because we can post that kind of basic ass content for casting, but what we're doing there is going, oh, I hope casting gives me an opportunity one day to grow an owned audience, instead of, okay, well, fuck that. I'm gonna go directly, and that's what we're talking about here as an overall strategy. Go ahead and go directly to your audience, build them, because that is what the 12-year-old Bangladesh girl, you know, she's building her own audience. So why can't we do the exact same thing, skipping over the need to post that bullshit in order to let other people to hopefully like us enough to give us an opportunity? It doesn't make any sense. It feels backwards.
Yeah, it doesn't. So the question is okay, as we have said 1,000 times, you have to be self-producing.
Period.
That is, you know, unless you are, I would argue, unless you are taking a route of, if you are a comedic actor and you are like, you know, creating a ton of shareable, which, look, I would argue that those people are more likely to get a sitcom than anybody else right now. It's like, but if you are making viral comedic content constantly, you know, POV, your da-da-da, or characters or whatever, that is absolutely, I think if you are trying to be a comedic actor, you should absolutely be doing that. And that you can grow an owned audience that way.
Yes.
You're making content that is shareable. It's got to be,
but Mike, that's, I just want to be clear. So sorry to cut you off, but musical theater performers, musicians, comedians, no different, actually. We're not saying anything different. It's because it's their self-made work based off of their art, what they're selling.
Sure, exactly. But if you're a more, let's say, a traditional actor in some respect, how do you do this? Well, even if you are a comedic actor, how do you do this? Well, you have to be marketing. You know, that's why people do things like, you know, post their self-tapes. Or they boost their self-tapes, or they boost their reel, or something. It's
not
like,
boost. Oh, God, not boost.
The only way that you can really do it is by producing work and marketing the work.
Yeah.
So if you are in please.
Well, I just was going to say that when we go back to the funnel, your self-produced work also has the ability to speak to all levels of your funnel. Correct. It allows you to be discovered potentially. It allows for nurturing, and, you know, this idea of buying. Are you trying to fundraise for future projects? Do you want people to go and buy your film?
Buy a ticket.
Do you want people to show up and I just want to say out loud, and we'll talk a little bit about your, you know, focusing on your fans. But Mike, I told Mike a story about when I had a concert at 54 Below a few years ago. I remember this girl who was a huge fan of Les Mis, flew from Ohio to see my concert. And you know what I did a shitty ass job of? Taking care of that relationship. And I'm saying this because we cannot let these people go by the wayside just because it feels like we're slightly irrelevant. We'll come back to that, but I just want to really own that idea.
Well, let me say this, like, in terms of marketing work. It's because, okay, how are you're right, it serves every part of the funnel, because how am I being discovered by new people as an actor? Well, if I've made a short film, that I star in, okay, and I've produced it, okay, I host it online. Okay, so now I have options. I can pitch podcast. I can't just pitch a podcast being like, hey, I'm an actor, have me on the show, right? I have to pitch, hey, I just made this movie. I want to talk about the movie. I want to talk about, you know, so that's one way to do it. Obviously, you can make little ads, and you can do paid advertising on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Google. And if an actor does that, like, how do you do that as an actor? Actor for hire. Hey, you get a paid ad from Mike. Hey, my name's Mike. I'm an actor, and hire me. And I just got pinned for Blue Bloods. It's like, can I do a boost?
Do you want to hear my 2 lines? Bitch, do you know some people are posting that, by the way. Some motherfuckers are out there posting that.
Or I do a boost of, hey, I think it's a little more forgivable if you're like in something and you do
of course.
But it has to be like not just I booked this. It should be like, check out this.
Yeah.
Tune in. Check out this thing. Subscribe. Because you have to kind of hide behind.
But even then, just to be clear, even then, if you are doing paid ads to get eyes on your IG page, don't do it. Now, if you're doing paid ads for a specific project that also makes sense to push, I just want to be clear, that might have that you're trying to sell a ticket to, or you're then again, your creative work acts as a workaround for allowing you to push your shit.
And now, and this is the thing, right, is you can now market aggressively. When you have a project, it's funny enough, actors can't market themselves aggressively. That's not cool. And it isn't. It's not cool. Yeah. But a short film, a play, whatever, we all understand that you have to market the fuck out of that. So if you have a project, you can market the fuck out of a project. And as a result, be discovered through that. As Joshua said, it also allows you to do middle of funnel stuff because people who are currently following you or currently interested in you, you're able to take whatever things from that and market it and say, hey, I'm busy, I'm working. Also, if it is creative work and people go watch it, it's a way to keep them more invested in you. And obviously, it is bottom of funnel as well because we're trying to a lot of times push people to buy tickets. So creative work is self-producing is the cornerstone of all marketing.
And then the strategies, and then the strategies, especially social media, are simply containers. I just want to be clear about that. What we're trying to say is that your biggest focus when it comes to marketing yourself, especially for the serious dramatic actor, quote unquote, right? But inclusive of, MT comedians, is self-created work. That is what is going to infiltrate your funnel. Now, okay, so people click through and they get to the page. Why are they sticking around? Why are these motherfuckers going to continue to follow suit?
This is where brand is important. This is where brand is important. Mm-hmm. Like when people say, it's so funny, like I'm, not that this is a brand, but when people are like, I'm the firecracker girl next door.
You love firecracker.
What do I do with that? How do you market that? How do you actually get that discovered? You can't. You can't just what are you going to do a job, actor job wanted post. I'm the firecracker. You can't market it. Oh, look at that. You see it just did a thumbs up thing?
Did it? Did you do it?
See that?
That's creepy. Oh my God, creepy. Why does it do that?
Position it right here. Anyway, okay, so but the thing is like,
so sexy.
Brand, having a very clear brand and persona is important because when your target audience lands on your page, wherever you're trying to land them on, and you have an opportunity to capture them. And why is that opportunity so important? Because of everything we've said. That's what an owned audience is. It's because it's another number to the follower count, and it's also another person that you can market creative work to, right? So it's the power. So when they're making that critical decision of, am I going to allow myself to be captured by this person? What is going to make that decision for them is your persona. Is this an engaging persona, artist, person that I actually want to follow? So again, ask yourself if having your reps in the bio is something that is engaging enough to get, or like,
Exactly.
my self-tape videos, I'm going to follow that.
Or
Right,
even actor. I mean, I do think like making clear that you're an actor, but then you gotta. It's a weird funny dance to do.
You make yourself clear you're an actor by creative work.
Exactly.
By like, guys, check out
show,
this
don't
thing I
tell. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yes. So that's what's going to get them to stick around for the hopefully foreseeable future, so then you can continue to sell to them once you've directed them enough. But again,
Correct.
I want to go back to this fan idea, and the reason why I want to underline this point is because I do believe it is easy enough for people who have what feels like a larger, let's call them anonymous fan base, to go, okay, now I have people that are paying attention. But the truth is, everybody listening to this has their own subset of fans. It might be Auntie Lulu, Mother Cuckoo, and Father Nunu at the outset. But the truth is that that's where it begins. That's where it begins. And I want to say something about this, because I said this to you before, that another way to think about your own audience is community. And successful businesses build community around their work. For us, what we're essentially trying to do is build community around our creative work. That is what we are trying to do. That's why this question of, is it casting? Are we selling to casting? No, we're selling to our fan base because we're trying to grow community overall around our creative work. And this does start with whoever your fan base is right now. There are tools. Oh, go ahead. No, please.
No, I have nothing really to add to that. I mean, and it's, it's true. It's like everything you said. It's like, how are you growing a community around your creative work? And that, number one, implies that you are, listen, if you're getting cast nonstop in things, then that's and you are nonstop working, then it's obviously easier.
Exactly.
But for many people, they have to make that work happen because that's what it is. At the end of the day, we're not really marketing ourselves. We're marketing our creative work. Right?
Absolutely. And I want to say there are tools like Patreon that where you can have a more direct to consumer relationship with your fans. And by the way,
OnlyFans is an example of that.
It is exactly. That it also could be a clear bottom of funnel where you are ultimately sending people. But I think the point that I just want to underline, and gosh, I'm even going to write it down for myself, because I talk about it and I do an okay job. Okay. But I would argue that if this is our audience, Mike, if this is our base, this should be a consistent focus. How am I engaging my fan base? How am I engaging my owned audience? Because I want to say another thing. Just posting the thing isn't necessarily enough to show appreciation and consideration of who. Mike told me a story about a guy who the other week came to see Arcadia. He had also seen Winter's Tale, I believe, and I think he might have been from like Ohio, or I don't know where the hell he was from, but he was from another state, and he came up to see the show. And he had followed Mike on socials, and Mike had followed him back. And after the show, Mike walked past him, and he was like, "Oh, hey, don't I know you? And we see each other on socials. What's the point?" Well, okay, so this guy is clearly interested and engaged from afar, but how could you begin to nurture?
It's what you said. You say this, one of your big regrets was, doing the show is doing. It's like. And I'm not good at, after a show, you're so fucking tired, but it's like, hey, thank you so much. What's your name? oh, so nice to meet you. Are you in the, have a 25-second conversation with somebody. These are the people who matter.
They are the people.
It's
who
not
matter.
it's not the fucking casting. It's not the fucking agents. It's not the fucking anybody else. Those are the people who matter. Those are the people who matter. So if somebody comes up to you after a show and says good work, like I would do a lot of like, hey, thank you so much. Hey, thank you so much. Get home safe. I would do a lot of that. No, hey, thanks so much. What's your name? Like, it might be a little, what's your name? You okay, cool. Have a 30-second conversation with somebody. Why
Taylor,
would I not do that?
Taylor, I was FaceTiming with Simone Jackson. We were FaceTiming the other day, and she's like, we were talking about my princess track, and I ain't too proud. And she's like, I mean, you wouldn't even sign. You'd bolt out the door. You would leave. We'd all be out there signing. And she kind of laughed. She was like, you were headed home, and I'm like, yeah, that was fucking stupid. It was fucking stupid, because it
was. I'm not to be whatever, but
no,
we know this now.
It is. It is stupid. Because wouldn't it be okay? Let's just take no. Eric loves you, Bedlam loves you, so that's not really an issue. But just hear me out here. Wouldn't it be amazing if every show you did, essentially the comment, people could feel the people that were coming just for Mike. That is a power move. That's what we're talking about here too. Overall, this is why it's currency. So taking care of your fans, whether that's, again, Patreon's a good example of, and I know it's a buy-in, but listen, that's not necessarily a bad thing to consider in terms of how you're engaging.
I'll never
with fans.
forget Michael Shannon. I saw the Art Town, the David Cromer Art Town. Your favorite person, but I saw the Michael Shannon. I saw Michael Shannon do the stage manager.
Yeah.
And he was in the lobby of Barrow Street for like 45 minutes after the show, just talking to people. And this wasn't, this is Michael Shannon. This isn't like hey, like Charlie D'Amelio. He was out there, and I remember it meant so much to me. And I've seen Michael Shannon in several things when he's in theater since then. In New York, because it's because he took that time.
Exactly, and that's
that time.
He built community. That's kind of what we're saying here again. He does an effective job of building community. You probably, ironically, feel like a member of his community just because he took the time to do that. And I'm thinking again, I did it again. The show I just did. What did I tell you? One of the people was like, oh yeah, I had several friends who went to see you. They said they waited, but that you never came out. So I lost those fans. Instead of, let me shake your hand. Nice to meet you. Follow me on socials. I'll follow you and then I'll unfollow you 2 days later. You won't even know. I'm just kidding. No. But you know what I'm saying? Like, follow me. In fact, even that's I actually said this to you the other day. Paris Hilton, the OG influencer, she is most notorious for having such a strong relationship with her fans, and subsequently has maintained a chokehold on that segment of the entertainment industry from the beginning, because she's never taken it for granted. And I really, and so,
exactly.
Whether that's direct communication, thank yous, we have some listed here, giveaways, exclusive content, art shares, which could be part of that.
Whatever,
yes, making yourself accessible to some extent.
Accessible to your fans, and it's like, yeah, it might feel weird to do that now.
Yep.
But you know what? Why not? Why should it, with my fucking 1,500 followers, why not?
But you know what? There are people there who are watching for a reason and cheering you on and want to continue to do so.
And I bet you if I did do an Ask Me Anything on IG right now, we would have 3 people. I would have 3 people like engage.
Yeah.
And that makes sense for the following I have right now. And it's
exactly.
And these are the people at the end of the day. Hollywood is dead. I'm not trying to be whatever, but this is what it's about, is you are the studio. You are the studio. You are building the audience. And and if you can have You know, I'll end up, but it's good. You know, it's actually kind of interesting. There's this filmmaker. There's that thing Benton and MVG, who are friends of ours, were in the Sudbury Devil. What I didn't know is that the director has 1 million YouTube subscribers.
Oh yeah, huge fans. They were telling me this.
1 million YouTube subscribers. He released it. They've made like, I think something like, you know, in the first week they made like $25,000 from sales. Profit from the movie.
Well, who did them? Producers did, or you're saying MVG and Ben
producers?
And
no, the producers. Well, producers, and then everybody else got a cut, but the movie made $25,000 from sales
because he had an owned audience.
Because he has an owned audience, and
exactly.
so his movie didn't get into Sundance. Okay, so his movie didn't get into South by or Slamdance. Maybe he didn't even probably didn't even fucking apply to those things. So it didn't get into any festivals. Well, who the fuck cares? Because at the end of the day, he was able to self-distribute it and make money off of it.
100%. 100%. No, I mean, I think we've made the case pretty well for why we live in a day and age now where as overwhelming as it can feel, and honestly, Mike, we talk about this. Of course, it's overwhelming. The main reason why, you know, the two of us haven't, you know, spent more time there is because we've spent too much time other places. The constant question of running a fucking business is what's my priority in this moment. But it doesn't mean that any of us, ourselves very much included, can turn a blind eye or should turn a blind eye to what that means, because it is the power of what it means to be alive in this moment. And per Mike's point, again, to your point about Hollywood being dead, the win here is your ability to create more independence so that you can make your own movie and make a $25,000 profit one day from direct distribution, not even worrying about other people doing that for you. So
exactly.
Go forth, prosper, care about your follower count, no matter how fucking annoying it may be. Oh, but we have to do comfort food performances. Okay. I have mine because it's really good. So we've been watching, and you know, I never do. We as we always have to restate, I do it incorrectly. So it's performances that I love. The Curse, great TV. Okay. Benny Safdie, Emma Stone, Nathan Fielder. And I have to say, Nathan Fielder, who's already great. He's already great. We all love him. We love Nathan Fielder. Everyone loves it. He is really good in this show. He is a really good actor.
What's the show about?
The Curse. The Curse is essentially following Emma and Nathan, who are husband and wife, a really dried up marriage, who are trying to create a reality show on these environmentally sound artistic homes. I think it's like in New Mexico, because it's like, and it has to do with natives, and but the town doesn't want them there. And so Benny Safdie plays the producer of the show who and so there's all these complications with them just trying to get the show to work, but the people in the town are kind of like, get the fuck out. And they're doing anything they can to make it happen. And Nathan is just trying to make Emma Stone's character happy, but she's so cruel to him. And he's, sorry, I'm leaving out the biggest part. Early on in the show, Nathan, some girl asks him for $20 or something, and he like doesn't give it to her, and so she curses him. She's like this little girl, and so, but basically the whole them trying to build the TV show is cursed every step of the way, and so then he's like trying to reverse the curse, but
I've heard it's weird. Yeah, I've heard
it's so weird. He also, and it's not telling everything the way he has the whole thing is that he has a very small penis. And they show his penis over and over and over and over again throughout the series. And it's true, he is no Barry Keoghan. And but he's so good in it. I honestly was expecting him not to. I was expecting a Larry David performance where like Larry David's like acting but also kind of like laughing the whole time. No, Nathan Fielder is there, and it is sad, and he's giving a great performance. Emma and Benny Safdie are great too, but Nathan Fielder, beautiful. Okay, what's yours?
I'm gonna do just because I had to watch it last night because I'm at my parents', so I'm with Nicholas. And
We gotta have Nicholas on.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll get some neurodiversity. That'd be good. Anyway, so we're an inclusive podcast. We have two plus size models. And then we'll get my autistic brother. So we were watching a go-to of ours is The Great Mouse Detective. Have you ever seen The Great Mouse Detective?
Never even heard of it.
It's probably the best Disney movie, and really? Vincent Price is in it.
Oh,
and Vincent Price is giving.
He's great.
He is giving, and it's something I would never watch alone, obviously, because I'm not 11 or like one of these freak adult Disney fans, or mentally disabled. But
Jesus Christ,
when I'm with my brother's mentally disabled, I can say it. But when I watch it with him, it's like Vincent Price, and I read that like he said that was his favorite movie he's ever done. And he plays Ratigan, the rat, and he's like the bat. It's all based off of Sherlock Holmes, but they're all mice, and so he's Ratigan, and he is giving. It's like very camp, very like, but also scary. But also like there's times where he's genuinely scary. So that's my comfort food performance.
Okay, friends, go watch Nathan and Vincent. Nathan has a very small penis. This has been Creative Risk.
It must be a fake thing. It must be fake, or is that his real penis?
I don't know, Mike. If you see it, I mean, there's like
probably a prosthetic.
It's like there's like picture. It's like there's a shot of him, just like a close up of him. It's like starts on him peeing, like his penis is peeing. I don't know if it's fake, honestly. That's what's kind of, you have to see it. I mean, it's not a micro penis. It's just a smaller penis.
I just like watch it. It's like the same size as my penis.
Well, okay, full disclosure, I watched it and I was like, okay, well, why is not that much bigger than
It's only 7 inches flaccid as opposed to like
anyway, folks, this has been Creative Risk, where we talk about small penises, art, entrepreneurialism, and everything in between. Please do, if you do like the show, please do rate us, whatever the hell it is, on Spotify, Apple. It's helpful, and please share because we get your messages that you enjoy it, but we want to see the stars. We want to see the 5 stars, so do it. Okay, friends, till next time.